I want you to do something for me real quick. Pull out your phone right now and go to your screen time settings. Just look at how many hours you spent on your phone this week. Go ahead, I'll wait. Now take that number and multiply it by 52. That's how many hours you're spending on your phone per year. For most people, that's literally thousands of hours. Thousands of hours scrolling through other people's highlight reels, watching 15-second videos of people you don't know, and reading the opinions of strangers who have absolutely no impact on your actual life. And here's the kicker: you probably can't even remember what you saw yesterday. Like, seriously, think about it. What was the last post you saw on Instagram that actually mattered? What was the last TikTok that genuinely improved your life in any meaningful way? You can't remember, can you? Because none of it matters. But we keep going back, day after day, hour after hour, convinced that we're staying connected, that we're keeping up with friends, that we're informed about the world. But we're not. We're just numbing ourselves and wasting the only resource we can never get back: our time. I deleted Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter about 6 months ago. Well, I didn't fully delete them, I still have the accounts, but I deleted the apps off my phone and I haven't logged in since. And I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the hardest things I've done in a while. For the first week, I kept reaching for my phone out of pure muscle memory. I'd unlock it, swipe to where Instagram used to be, and then just stare at my home screen like an idiot. It was genuinely disturbing how automatic it was. Like my brain was hardwired to just open these apps without even thinking about it. But after that first week, something interesting started to happen. I started to feel better, like genuinely better. I had more time, more energy, and weirdly, I felt less anxious about everything. And that's when I realized just how much social media was actually ruining my life. So let me break down exactly what these apps are doing to you, because I think if more people understood this, they'd delete them immediately. First, social media is designed to be addictive. Like, not kind of addictive, not sort of addictive, literally engineered by teams of psychologists and engineers to keep you scrolling for as long as possible. Every feature, every notification, every little dopamine hit when you get a like or a comment, it's all intentional. These companies have figured out exactly how to hijack your brain's reward system. The infinite scroll, the pull to refresh, the variable reward schedule, where sometimes you see something interesting and sometimes you don't. It's all based on the same psychological principles that make slot machines so addictive. And the crazy part is, we all know this. We've all read the articles, watched the documentaries, heard the testimonies from former tech executives who won't let their own kids use these apps, but we still use them anyway because we think we're different, that we have control over it. But you don't have control. None of us do. If you did, you wouldn't check your phone 96 times per day, which is the average for most people. You wouldn't feel that little pang of anxiety when you see a notification that you can't check immediately. You wouldn't spend 2 to 3 hours a day scrolling through content that you'll forget about in 5 minutes. Second, social media is destroying your attention span. Remember when you could sit down and read a book for an hour without getting distracted? Remember when you could watch a movie without checking your phone every 10 minutes? Remember when you could just sit in silence without feeling uncomfortable? Yeah, me neither. Because social media has completely rewired how our brains work. We've trained ourselves to expect constant stimulation, constant novelty, constant entertainment, and now anything that requires sustained attention, reading, learning, deep conversation, creative work, feels almost impossible. I noticed this so much after I deleted social media. The first time I tried to read a book, I got through maybe 3 pages before my brain was like, this is boring, where's the dopamine? But I forced myself to keep going, and after a few days, it got easier. After a few weeks, I could read for an hour straight without even thinking about picking up my phone. And it's not just about attention span, it's about the quality of your thoughts. When you're constantly consuming bite sized pieces of information, your brain never gets the chance to think deeply about anything. You're always moving on to the next thing, the next post, the next video. You're never just sitting with an idea, turning it over in your mind, making connections, forming your own opinions. You're just absorbing whatever the algorithm decides to show you and moving on. It's like intellectual fast food: quick, easy, and ultimately unsatisfying. Third, and this is probably the most important one, social media is making you miserable. And I mean that literally. There are countless studies showing that the more time people spend on social media, the more likely they are to be depressed, anxious, and lonely. And it makes sense when you think about it. You're spending hours every day looking at carefully curated highlight reels of other people's lives. Everyone's on vacation, everyone's in a relationship, everyone's got their life figured out. Meanwhile, you're sitting on your couch in sweatpants eating cereal for dinner, wondering why your life doesn't look like that. But here's the thing: their lives don't look like that either. Everyone's only posting their best moments. Nobody's posting about how they cried in their car before work, or how they're struggling to pay rent, or how they feel lost and don't know what they're doing with their life. So you're comparing your actual life with all its messiness and mundane moments to everyone else's fake highlight reel, and you're always going to come up short in that comparison. Always. I fell into this trap so hard in college. I'd see people posting about their internships, their relationships, their travels, and I'd feel like such a failure, like everyone had it figured out except me. But once I deleted social media, that feeling just disappeared. I stopped comparing myself to others because I wasn't constantly bombarded with their curated content. I started focusing on my own life, my own goals, my own happiness, and surprise, surprise, I became way happier. Fourth, social media is stealing your real relationships, and I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. How many times have you been hanging out with friends and everyone's just on their phones? How many times have you been in the middle of a conversation and someone pulls out their phone to show you a meme or check a notification? We've normalized being physically present but mentally absent. We're so busy documenting our lives and sharing them online that we forget to actually live them. We're so focused on maintaining these shallow digital connections with hundreds of people that we neglect the deep, meaningful relationships with the people right in front of us. I have friends who I used to text every single day, who I'd see their posts and stories constantly, and I felt like I was close with them, like I knew what was going on in their lives. But after I deleted social media, I realized I didn't actually know them at all. I knew what they wanted me to see, but I had no idea what they were really going through. So I started reaching out more intentionally, actually calling people, actually making plans to hang out in person. And you know what? Those relationships got so much better. We had real conversations instead of just reacting to each other's posts. We actually spent quality time together instead of just being in the same room while scrolling on our phones. Fifth, social media is filling your head with garbage. And I mean that in the most literal sense. Your brain is constantly being filled with other people's opinions, drama, outrage, political takes, conspiracy theories, and just general nonsense. And the algorithm doesn't care about showing you accurate information or valuable content, it cares about engagement. It cares about keeping you on the platform, so it shows you whatever will get the strongest emotional reaction from you. Something that makes you angry, perfect, you'll engage with it. Something that scares you, great, you'll share it. Something that confirms what you already believe, excellent, you'll spend more time scrolling. So you end up in this bubble where you're only seeing content that's designed to provoke an emotional response, not to inform you or help you grow. You're not learning anything valuable, you're not expanding your perspective, you're just getting angrier, more polarized, and more convinced that everyone who disagrees with you is an idiot. I used to think I was staying informed by following news accounts and political commentators on social media, but after I left, I realized I wasn't informed at all. I was just consuming a constant stream of hot takes and outrage without any real context or nuance. Now I actually read long form articles and books. I listen to podcasts where people have real in depth conversations instead of just screaming at each other, and I feel way more informed and way less stressed about the state of the world. Sixth, social media is keeping you from doing the things you actually want to do. Think about all those goals you have: learning a new skill, getting in shape, starting that project, building that business, whatever. How much progress have you made on those goals, and how much time have you spent scrolling through social media instead? I'm willing to bet the ratio is pretty depressing. The time you spend on social media could be spent on literally anything else. You could learn a language, read 50 books a year, get really good at an instrument, build meaningful relationships, travel, create something, contribute something valuable to the world. But instead, you're looking at pictures of people you went to high school with, watching strangers dance, and reading arguments between people who will never change their minds. Is that really how you want to spend your life? When I deleted social media, I suddenly had so much more time that I used to think I didn't have. And I started doing all the things I'd been putting off. I started reading again, I started writing more, I started actually working on projects instead of just thinking about them. And here's the thing, it's not like I became some super productive robot. I still waste time sometimes, I still procrastinate, but at least now I'm wasting time on things I actually choose, not on an endless feed of content that I'll forget about immediately. So, what am I saying with all of this? Should you delete social media? Honestly, yeah, I think you should. Or at the very least, take a serious break from it and see how you feel. I know that sounds extreme. I know you're thinking about all the reasons you can't delete it. You need it for work, you need it to stay in touch with friends, you need it to stay informed, whatever. But here's what I learned: you don't need it as much as you think you do. The people who actually matter in your life, you can stay in touch with through texts, calls, and actually seeing them in person. The information you actually need, you can get from better sources. The work stuff, you can find other ways to handle it. And if you're really worried about missing out, just remember, you're already missing out. You're missing out on your actual life because you're too busy staring at your phone. You're missing out on real connections because you're too busy maintaining fake ones online. You're missing out on the things you actually want to do because you're too busy consuming other people's content. I'm not saying deleting social media will solve all your problems. It won't. But I am saying that it'll give you back something incredibly valuable: your time, your attention, and your mental space. And you can use those things to actually build the life you want instead of just watching other people pretend to live theirs. So try it. Delete the apps for a week and see what happens. You might be surprised at how much better you feel. And if after a week you decide you really miss it and want to go back, fine. At least you gave it a shot. But I'm willing to bet that once you experience life without the constant noise of social media, you won't want to go back. I know I don't. What do you think? Have you ever tried taking a break from social media? How did it go? Let me know in the comments because I'm genuinely curious about other people's experiences with this. And if this video resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. We'll talk again soon.